I think there might be a chance that I actually upset some of you based off of my views of this news that we're going to talk about today. If you guys haven't seen, Activision Blizzard reportedly has lost over 60 million monthly active users coming off of the 2021 insane, that was Activision Blizzard last year. What I'm going to do in this is I'm going to look at these numbers with you guys as I want to do, apply some of, like how I perceive this. And I'm not trying to intend or be, a contrarian to essentially what everybody's kind of thinking and saying. But generally, I'm seeing a lot of people report this as really bad news. And while, yes, losing 60 million monthly active users isn't anything to celebrate about as a company level, when we actually look at the real numbers here and we look at the situation of 2021 outside of the lawsuit and the drama, I think these numbers are actually telling a very different story and just how big of a behemoth and juggernaut that Activision Blizzard is. And so that's hopefully what you guys get from this video, and hopefully you guys let me know what your thoughts are, especially if they differ from mine. I'm always interested in opposing opinion, especially when it comes to video games and MMORPGs. But here we go. Let's dive into the numbers here specifically. We can see here that they are down to 372 million monthly active users for the quarter, which is down from 435 million the same time last year, which constitutes a 63 million drop, roughly 14.4% drop in their monthly active users year over year. Now, this kind of equates when you look at their billions of dollars of money, and we know that we know that their mobile division has a massive impact on this. We've seen a drop in Call of Duty. We've seen a drop in overall profit, down from 2.7 billion to 1.43 billion dollars. And these numbers are like so massive that I can't even comprehend that, in that regards. Like, I can't even visualize what $1 billion is, but we know that Elon Musk, I think, is buying Twitter for 44 of those bad billion boys. But at its core, when I read all of this, when I look at this entire article and link, that I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to go check it out for yourself. What is it that we actually truly gain from this? What information do we know? Activision Blizzard really didn't release any big new games last year. Along those lines, while I think we've seen obviously a jump in Final Fantasy, we've seen a jump in other areas, and we've seen that like wholeheartedly across the industry, kind of a big shift. That 60 million, if we look at that as kind of a generic thing that we want to apply to the whole year, also comes off the fact that when you're not releasing content, people are going to go play other things. But when you look at the fact that 72 still remained over the course of the entire year itself, I think that screams just how massive and powerful what Blizzard has built, what Activision has built. And I saw it yesterday because I posted on the Diablo Immortal news. If you guys haven't seen Diablo Immortal being released on June 2nd, now also coming to PC as a way to help drive up their monthly active users. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think essentially you can kind of see these numbers and see how that kind of made them change some of their outlook and some of their mindset. They would still probably count Diablo Immortal as part of their monthly active users because they already have a mobile division, but holy freaking crap, just how powerful and how insulated this company is from, like the wanes and the wants and the frustrations of gamers in general. We're already seeing that in light of the Dragonflight announcement. You can go and one of the things I've really enjoyed is Reddit kind of bringing up this cycle that players kind of go through, and we're seeing it like on a massive level because all eyes are on Activision Blizzard right now, especially for WoW Dragonflight, especially for the questions that it perceives to ask. Will it be like the cycle that we've seen for every expansion up to this point? Gamers get excited. Gamers hope that this is when they're truly listening. Gamers eventually play that and they love it. Oh, this is so great. This is wonderful. Gamers get frustrated. They haven't listened. They haven't changed. And then essentially the cycle then repeats. And anyway, it's been very humorous because you can see this playing out on social media because Google doesn't delete anything. It just exists. So that's something that I think is very kind of curious overall, especially as they're starting to enter into this hype cycle, especially as Activision Blizzard is starting to prepare to release content, both with Diablo Immortal, whether you like that or not, it's going to have an impact on the numbers, and it's going to be something that's going to be interesting to look back on here in 6 months' time, here in a year's time, to see how well they're doing. Also, Activision Blizzard is getting ready to have their vote on the next phase of the Microsoft acquisition. How much has that had a positive impact on the perception and on gaming culture within Activision Blizzard? And I get it. Like one of the things I said at the beginning of this video, there's a high chance that that I could upset you with what I'm saying. And it's because generally I'm thinking right now in terms of just general gaming, not you specifically. And I know that I've talked with a lot of you hands-on, one-on-one, and y'all are frustrated and you're angry, you're upset at Activision Blizzard based off of the things and the accusations and the lawsuits and what's been going on behind doors, but also in lieu of what has actually been released and the content that they have released and how you feel portrayed. We've talked to many people who've come over into the Final Fantasy XIV community who really feel welcomed and enjoying that community, and then talking about their experience and how it kind of went downhill in World of Warcraft. And so when I look at this though, I still see like an incredibly strong company. I still see an insanely strong company that if they do release like a WoW expansion, what kind of massive impact that would have on MMOs. And I think that they are, in this case, kind of a sleeping giant, depending on how they release Dragonflight. I think Dragonflight actually will be an interesting test. Now, personally speaking, I don't think it's going to do massive numbers. I think a lot of people are going to be more on the fence, waiting to kind of see and let Blizzard basically earn back the trust that they've withdrawn time and time again. And I think that's the right approach. Like, I think that's the healthy gaming mindset about that relationship. It shouldn't be like, oh, they announced Dragonflight, I should immediately trust them. But when I look at these numbers themselves, like when, yeah, we can talk about 63 million, but we're talking about a 14% drop, which not insignificant, but still in the grand scheme of things, there's still 372 million players that have been completely fine with everything that's going on. And that's the story that I read. And that's how I end up perceiving exactly what we're seeing right here today. 372 million players perceive that, you know what, it's just my games. I don't really care what's going on. And that's what I continue to see time and time again within gaming, is that no matter what, as long as the games are good, as long as the players are having fun, that's the biggest story, despite of all what is being talked about on social media and however many, like angry and upset videos are overall the case. And maybe that's just the knowledge. Maybe that's something we all just learn to say, yep, that's just how it is with gaming. Gaming is such a weird thing, especially when you talk to marketing, when you talk to all these different kind of like branches of it. It has this sense, this fervency that I'm not sitting here and saying that's bad. I'm just sitting here like, this is just my observations when it comes down to it. But I wanted to share this post because essentially I think it's interesting from the grand scheme of things. At 63 million monthly active users lost, that translates, they lost $500 million dollars. That's not insignificant. Any of us would, I'm sure, happily cash a check for $500 million. But when it comes down to it, they didn't release games, and I think that's actually the bigger story here. They didn't release content, and because they didn't release content, that's why they saw a drop more than any lawsuit or anything out there. While that did have an impact, I don't think that was the impact. I think if they actually released the games, if they released good games last year, if they didn't like delay on content, if as my voice decides to fail, if that didn't all happen, I think you would have seen like, oh, they would have been just absolutely fine. And this year and then going forward, they're starting to actually gear up to start to release content, and if they can kind of get back into that cycle of actually making games, well, I think you're going to see Activision Blizzard in a fine state, especially if the Microsoft deal goes through. That's in and of itself going to be an insane and interesting worldview to see what happens with the future of these games here in the next 5-10 years, etc. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for your time. Hopefully you enjoyed the ramblings of this madman talking about these numbers and what they mean to him. Thank you again for your time. Hopefully you have a wonderful day. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.
Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with a clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.